surprise, Sidney. Do you need a minute? Oh my gosh, it looks like you need a minute. I'll wait.
Nice try. Stumacher is dead.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to agree to disagree with you there. Oh, my God. It's so good to see you. I always had a thing for you, Sid. It's going to be so much fun. Just like the old days, except now there's no Billy or Randy or Tatum. Speaking of whom, your daughter, her name's Tatum. That is so adorable. I mean, it's a little weird or whatever, but it's super cute. And she is so pretty.
Do not talk about my daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I should definitely tell you, though, I am currently outside of her high school theater.
Don't you fucking dare!
It's showtime, bitch.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blowing Black Ron podcast. I'm Ryan from Coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
We're back in the saddle again.
Yeah, we are revisiting Roger L. Jackson's voice today.
Mm-hmm. We're reviewing Mortal Kombat 1. It's a fighter that no one likes.
That's right. No, we actually made it out to the movie theater again, which is something that we don't do often. And at this time, movie had just released, like 3 days ago, and there was about 8 people in the theater this time.
Yeah, it was nice.
So that was crazy. It was a packed showing for a Monday at 4:00. That's actually pretty busy, but.
We're all matinees now. We don't do the 7 o'clock showings.
That's right. But before we get into the movie that we're covering, we have some gripes. We have some things we need to talk about in terms of actual presentation at the movie theater. Which again, we live in a small town. We have one movie theater available to us, like within close proximity. So we don't necessarily
30-mile radius.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily see larger chains and how they present films. So take this with a grain of salt. This probably is happening more frequently in larger areas than we actually experience. But when we went, I've never experienced this before. But when we went to the theater, it was a 4:00 showing. So we were there, and actually I was almost late. Because I was coming from work and there was traffic, so I was almost late. And I think I got there like right at 4 because I was really looking at the clock and like, oh man, I'm gonna miss the opening and blah, 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 and I was getting a little nervous. So when we got in, we had to buy our tickets and walk in and stuff like that. It had to have been like 4:02, 4:03, somewhere around there. And by the time we got in, they did start the trailers, and we saw a couple of shitty-looking movies that are coming out, to be honest with you, and nothing really stood out. Scary Movie 6 was one of the trailers, which, in my opinion, did not make it look glamorous or anything like that. It certainly...
Did they even put the 6 on there? I don't think they did. I think
they didn't. Yeah, I think they're normally putting the 6 in the VI, right? Like the movie part of the Scary Movie. But I don't think they did in this trailer. It was kind of... and everything about it seemed a little bit lazy, but we're not here to talk about Scary Movie 6. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll see it.
Are you calling the Wayans brothers?
I was saying their
lazy?
Comedy seemed dated for that trailer. I
am interested to see that. Not because I think it's going to be good.
No.
But just to see how 30 years out Gen X style humor in the modern context.
It certainly seemed very dated from the trailer, but we'll see, right? But we're not here. I'm not even here to talk about Scary Movie 6 in its trailer. at the beginning. And I'm not even here really to talk about trailers at the beginning of movies, because that's always a thing, right? And, there was a time where they might have shoved like 6, 7 trailers into the movie, the first part of the movie, which was excessive. And I think we've cut that back a little bit. And we normally get like 2 or 3 trailers, nothing outrageous. But after the trailers, we got a nearly 10-minute, like EPK style, like electronic press kit style featurette about Scream 7, which, in many circumstances, I would be interested in watching. These are like fodder that they know they need to film and rip out for the Blu-ray, right? So it's like, you need extras on the Blu-ray, so they do these things prior to finishing filming, and they just kind of like do them kind of half-assed. I'm gonna be honest. Most of the time, these things are kind of half-assed, and they just get the stars that are already on set to talk a little bit about how great the movie is and stuff. Like, that's fine. There's a place for it on Blu-rays and stuff like that. But in this context, I've already bought the ticket.
It comes across as very, dinner and a movie, or FX, like DVD, yes, like extras, like where you're watching the movie and like, here's a feature you can see on the DVD. Like, yeah. No, you're totally right. You bought the damn ticket. You don't need. Yes, we're so happy to have Kevin Williamson back.
Yeah,
he's a critical feature, a horror icon. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, I agree with everything you're saying. And I can't wait to see how people react to this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. It's not like in-depth, hard-hitting background about the movie. It's not like, remember when, we used to have Jenna Ortega and we had to completely rewrite the film because we don't have her anymore because Paramount decided they were going to axe her and Melissa Barrera? No, we don't have any conversation about that. They don't talk about that at all. That would be something really interesting to have at the beginning, is like, yeah, we had to completely rewrite the script. That's why what you see is maybe seems a little bit lazy at times and maybe half-assed. No, we don't get any of that. Instead, which
is interesting, because you're right. That would be like more like, okay, like, listen, when you're watching this film, especially if you've seen all the other ones, and you're like, and you're into the franchise, you're gonna go, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, right, and keep in mind that we had to fire Melissa Barrera because she dared to speak out about Palestine. So, it's like, there's no talk of that. It's the same idea of how they really like just retcon the whole idea that Sidney was not in Scream 6 during that time period, where they were like, there was no discussion about like, no, we didn't want to pay Neve Campbell money. No, it was just like, for whatever reason, we're not including her this time. It's like, has nothing to do with money or anything like that. It's
Wouldn't
just
that be funny if it's like, that wasn't Scream 6, it's like, hey, look, it's Nevin, Sidney Prescott, and she goes to New York for vacation. Hey, like, you think about it, it's like, how the hell do you, shoehorn her? And
yeah, I know. And what I will say is that, the idea of putting this 10-minute featurette at the beginning before the movie even starts, like I said, for one thing is I've already bought the ticket. I'm sitting in the theater, and this featurette is trying to sell me on the fact that I want to see this movie. And it's like, I'm already here. I'm going to be seeing it. I can't go back out and get a refund on my ticket here. So I'm already going to be seeing it. Like, save that, spiel and the whatever, concessions you're making about why it's not as good as people expect for the end of the movie. Like, maybe tack it on after the credits and be like, here's why it's maybe not as good as you were expecting. But I feel like it was very unnecessary to make us sit there. And I feel like the producers also knew it was unnecessary because they put a ticking clock at the top right corner of it to say, like, listen, you've only got to sit through this for another 9 minutes. You've only got to watch this Ice 9 Kills video for 5 minutes.
If you got to take that shit, go take it now.
Exactly. And I guess, it kind of reminds of like the sort of, drive-in movie experience where they used to do this sort of thing, like in between the films, like during the intermission, they might throw up like a nice, like presentation or even just like a cartoon or something to like bridge the gap between the two movies. But that makes sense because you're doing intermission. People are going to get, concession stand food, and they're going to the bathroom and, stuff like that. Or people are leaving or pulling in. But In this scenario, like, again, I'm already sitting there. I do not want to be subjected to ice nine kills in any scenario. I definitely don't want to be forced to be watching it when I'm in the theater watching this really horrible music video that I can't get out of because they decided like, hey, we spent a lot of money on the rights to this stuff, so like we need to get our money's worth, like, if you know what I mean. Which again, that Ice Nine Kills song was absolutely horrid. Just really awful. Like, again, it reminded of the worst times of the early 2000s, like Evanescence, new metal phase, and it was just really. And again, too, it just reminds you like this is like a 45-year-old guy singing about like 15-year-old problems. It just I don't know. It was
you say that as you sit with. Well, we both sit earnestly awaiting, American Football 4,
True, but he's singing about 45-year-old man problems dating back to when he was 15. There's a difference, right? Like these are long stemming therapy sessions and not problems that he shouldn't be having at 45. So
my Medicaid has been cut
that's
again.
right. Exactly. And then also, like, so I guess we've really made our point. Like, do not put these featurettes at the beginning of the movie like that, unless you're planning on them being shown literally 10 minutes prior to showtime. Like, okay, if it's 3:50 and this is like the thing that you're putting in to start before the movie begins and before showtime, and if people catch it, they happen to catch it, but if not, like, you're not missing anything.
Not only that, if you're going to do that though, too. You can't have 7 film trailers.
True.
Also eating up 5 minutes. I would say the way to do it, if you were, instead of you're watching a Marvel movie, right? You're seeing the new, Fantastic Four. Don't have 7 trailers, 2 Verizon commercials, and then a 10-minute vignette. Like, if you're going to do the vignette, then you don't do it for that film. Do it for, like, hey, so coming down the line, we got Ant-Man 4 coming out.
True.
Here's some of the behind the scenes.
You want to sell the next film. You want to sell the audience on the next film, not the one they're already sitting in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the idea is sound in that, like, you want to give some more background to the movie that they're watching, but like this really just felt like an advertisement again to see the movie, and I don't really feel like it offered anything of value for us already sitting there waiting to see the movie. And so it again, like, I can't speak to the fact that like maybe it was supposed to be prior to the showtime or something, but I will say our showtime did not get started until like 4:30. So that was like a half an hour after the actual stated showtime. So then, and the movie is 2 hours long, basically. So now we're talking, I'm now out 2.5 hours of my time, waiting for this movie to start. So that's our little complaint about the way that movie theaters are operating these sorts of things right now. I think they thought it was cheeky and fun, but I did not see it that way.
Which also, too, they had at our local theater a very rare, raffle
giveaway.
We had to put our name and phone number down further on our sub.
And I know you were very disappointed.
Yes, and I wish, to be honest with you, looking back, I wish I didn't do that. I'd rather we'd share in the prize.
You would rather not have the prize and be able to keep your streak alive of collecting movie ticket stubs.
Yeah, well, it's the same.
And you probably could have asked him for a different movie stub. He probably had one back there. He probably
because you know what? They're probably like, on our ass, like we're real, like on tracking, like who's going to see this shit.
It certainly did seem like it because they were really trying. Like, this is a free giveaway, but they were almost at gunpoint. He pulled out the gun and was like, "You're going to write your name and your phone number down on there." It was not a request. It was almost a, it was like, "No, you're going to do it." And we'll enter you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry where your phone number's going after this. We will certainly enter you in this giveaway. Yeah, it was funny. And there was definitely that pressure for you to submit your stub instead of being able to keep it because you already whipped it and whipped out your wallet and put it in there. And the guy was like, "Where's your stub?"
Well, I thought he used. I didn't know it was on the stuff when you wrote it. I thought he just gave a sheet of paper. So I put it in my wallet, and he's like, "Hey, you gonna fill out?"
It definitely did seem like there was some sort of like incentive or something to have shown how many people went to go see Scream 7. I don't know. I've never seen them do that before. Interesting. But yes, they were giving away a poster and maybe a little bit of other merch. I think there was some merch that was released with this movie to tie in if you went to see it, and you could buy like a Scream 7 like t-shirt or popcorn bucket or something. But our theater did not have that. They had, I guess, whatever, wherever they got from this distributor, they were sold out of that stuff. So we didn't end up getting it, which makes sense for the movie theater. I mean, they're never going to sell back the amount of stuff that they would buy. So, it makes sense, but yeah, that there's like a whole merch tie-in and everything. So yeah. So that's without even talking about the film itself, which is obviously, as we've discussed, Scream 7, or as I like to phrase it and use it in a sentence or name, I like to say it's spelled SCR7AM because, we like to be doing those types of fun and, artistic ways of stylizing sequels now, which I think they should have done. Put that 7 in the middle.
So 7 meme.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, getting into the movie itself, we went to see it. We've seen Scream 5 and Scream 6. Actually, did we see Scream 4 as well in theaters?
No.
We didn't see that one in theaters. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because it was kind of like after the fact that we ended up seeing it and like liking it and stuff.
I didn't see because we didn't because that came out like right when we graduated in college, so we wouldn't have caught it together. But I didn't actually even see that movie. I think until like 2013.
Yeah,
2014.
It took me a while as well
because it like popped up on Netflix and like when they had all of them on there, and because well-known fact here, as we'll discuss on here, because we've covered all the other Screams. Scream 4 is right up there with Scream 1 for me is my favorite. Highly underrated. If you don't like it, you're a sack of shit.
Wow. I think we talked about our ratings of the Scream movies because we did.
Well, I think we did it for 6 and 5. What's the order now?
Yeah.
But so like. Yeah, like it's nice to like that we're getting like it is like nice, I will say, to have like a franchise that's going where you're invested to just go check it out in the theater and be whatever with it. But my God, though, it's slim pickings.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this too, and I was gonna say for the franchise as a whole, I know that the Scream movies now, 5 and 6, they really came out in the sort of like a whiplash fashion where it was like Scream 5 came out and they just pulled it out. Like it was not even, I don't even think it was a year later that Scream 6 came out after.
It was a year and like 2 months because Scream 5 came out in January 2022. Scream 6 is out in March of 2023. Which is Scream 1 and 2 level of like whip, you know.
They just wham-bammed it and, released both of those in movies in quick fashion. And, I am actually surprised because not that the Scream franchise as a whole continues, because I think we're already seeing Scream 8 in production. They're already working on it. I'm not surprised about that. I'm actually surprised that we don't see more of this type of thing. Saw was there for a while. And perhaps the people making Saw just like tired of it after a while. But I'm surprised that we don't see things like for other people that hold rights like this, right? Like A Nightmare on Elm Street, for example. Like we haven't seen A Nightmare on Elm Street in forever, and it just seems surprising because these movies, though, as we'll talk about, especially with 5 and 6, these movies haven't even really been that amazing. But the box office for them is such that like they can't afford not to keep making them in a certain way. And we'll talk about this with Scream 7 as well. The cheapness at times of being able to make these movies versus, the long running sort of audience consensus that like, I'm going to see it no matter what. Like, I don't even care that 6 wasn't that good. I'll probably still see 7. Like that sort of goodwill to just see the movie is what they really are banking on to just make bundles of cash. And I'm really surprised we don't see that for other rights that they hold.
I think it's because of what ends up happening, and they've seen it now, is they want a surefire investment. Because again, think about it. We didn't think Scream 5 was that great.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen to our review. For 11 years after Scream 4 for them to return. I'm fine with it because again, it's a well-trodden property.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the rights, you'd be stupid to not use them.
Exactly.
Well, you think about like Halloween, 2018. Halloween. God, the Blumhouse was riding high, and then you got Halloween Kills and what the hell was the third one called?
Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends. So like it went like from that high, that they did, and then just shit, and then to where it's like it's kind of toxic now. Like I don't think there's probably going to be. There probably won't be another Halloween film until like 2030 because of how bad Halloween Kills and Ends was.
Right. And the other thing about that is like The Exorcist Believer too, right?
Yeah.
That one came out and they were like lauding it. We've got a trilogy on the rise, we're going to have 3 of these movies coming out, and then Exorcist Believer came out and everyone was like, fucking Christ, do not have 2 more movies like this. Which is
like, again, like, sorry to interrupt, but like that's part of the problem too. Don't, as a film studio, try to like plan ahead. Plan for the success of the project you're working on, and if it pans out, then go for it.
Well,
because you look at Scream 1. There was nothing, from Scream 1 that would hint that they were looking at, sequels down the line. If there was never a sequel to Scream, Scream is still a self-contained, amazing, not just slasher film, but not just a horror film, a great film.
Yeah.
So even if they never, dip back into that it's still self-contained.
We'll talk about that. I want to come back to that when we talk about Scream 7 a little bit more. So remember that point, because I do want to. That was something I wanted to talk about when we
put a pin in it.
Yeah, when we get into the movie itself. All right, yeah. Let's take a break really quick. Let's talk about the beer that we have on the show, and then we'll get back to talking about the movie and production stuff as well, because I think we've got a lot more to talk about from there too. So, all right. So beer on the show today. We've got one that from a local brewing company that we've had on here numerous times before. But this one stood out. I think I remember seeing this released and seeing people having this in stores maybe not too long ago. And we had kind of earmarked it to say, hey, that's something that we want to try at some point. It looks like you found it today.
I did.
Yeah.
I found it at our local beer store.
That's awesome.
In fact, it was like the first one of the. I was either going to get this, or I saw they had a Beer Tree Irish Red Ale.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going with this, just because I don't want to quite bleed into St. Patrick's Day, and we're damn big fans of Schwartz beers on here.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think we had one not too long ago, actually.
No, we have
the Beer Tree Lift Lager, right? Was one of the last ones that we have on here.
Yeah.
So, and I think again, this is very similar in scope to the Lift Lager. This is another Schwartz beer style from Druthers. It's called Dark Encounter. Which I like the name a lot. They're calling it a German style dark ale or dark lager, which is effectively a Schwartz beer. I mean, they're not calling it by name, but that's be honest.
Probably because they don't it's to lure normies in. Because if you're like
unsuspecting victims of the Schwartz beer style,
because if you're like Schwartz beer and they're like, what's that? Schwarzen.
That's the thing. That's what they're doing. They're luring them in, and you're like, you'll never go back.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna love Schwartz beers from here. You're gonna go find them all. Yeah. I mean, and again, I think we talked about this on the Lift Lager, but it's like a Schwartz beer style isn't really a Schwartz beer style, and it's like there's a particular function for it and a particular flavor. And if you're not hitting that, then are you really having a Schwarzbier? Probably not. You're having something else that's more akin to like a stout or a porter, because there's a very fine line between the two of them, and they sometimes bleed into each other. I think this Druthers is very good. It matches the Schwarzbier style really well. It's got a nice body to it, but it's not it's actually still light with that lager lightness to it. A nice biscuity, toffee coffee flavor to it. A little bit of chocolatiness there. But effectively, a lighter body and lighter in alcohol content to make it really drinkable. I think they did a really good job with it. What do you think?
No, I agree. I love this. It definitely, I would say, compared to the Beer Tree Schwarzbier, it definitely pushes those notes that you expect from a Schwarzbier much further. Because the toffee is so robust, the biscuitiness. But it does kind of straddle that line of like a porter with like how big it's like and prominent those notes are. But it is very drinkable, very good, nice and warming to you, especially. Not today. We had summer today, but as like it's been cooler than the witch's tit up here in the Adirondacks. This is a wonderful, winter beer. And
love the name. I like that name.
Yeah,
the
I love the
counter.
I love the name. I love the can. And I haven't had Druthers in forever. Haven't even been to one of the Druthers in a long while.
How? They have like 4 locations now. How can you miss it now?
Well, we have to go because I was looking at their updated menu. They have French dip egg rolls.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. For $17, you get shaved ribeye, caramelized onion, provolone.
Still need to try the local favorite around here too, which is the Reuben egg roll, which also sounds very delightful, especially with St. Patrick's Day coming up.
I know.
It's like a local special. I mean, it's probably a lot of people do it, but they definitely do it around like the Irish bars and pubs around here.
But yeah, no, I was just looking at it's horseradish, creme drizzle, and beef juice. Sign me up. But yeah, no, it's nice. So to be honest with you, I'll have to check. I feel like I've had a Schwarzbier from them before.
Oh, maybe.
Wasn't this because I did check.
Yeah.
But I think by a different name maybe because I feel like one of the times visiting like the pub house,
could be
snuck that
or
in
they
there,
didn't.
but
They just didn't call it this, but it was like the same recipe or something. Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So Druthers, if you don't live in the upstate New York region, probably not going to find this, unfortunately, but done a good thing with Dark Encounter. I like it. All right. Let's extend our conversation about Scream 7 a little bit with that, the idea of the production and the budget. So surprisingly, Scream 7 has the highest budget of the 3 newer films. Scream 5 had a actually pretty small budget at like 20-something thousand, or 20 million. I think it was like 28 million or something like that. Scream 6 had a, bumped up budget there with like about 35 million or so. And Scream 7 clocks in at $45 million for their budget. That's an estimate from IMDb. Which already made back in the opening weekend with 63 million on as of March 1st, with a worldwide gross of over $100 million. So it's making money regardless of the fact of whether people liked 5 and 6. However, I will say people did like 5 and 6, maybe not us as much as we've talked about on our previous episodes, where I think we were somewhat enamored with 5, and 6 was sort of a drop off a little bit. At least for me, I remember not really being that in love with 6, even though I look back and I apparently gave it a 3.5 stars or something like that. But I remember just, not thinking that it was all that amazing. But people are really, loving the Scream sequels, and they're going to see these movies. Now, I think the surprising thing that we'll talk about with Scream 7 is that the budget is $45 million, and this movie certainly does not feel like it has that type of budget.
No, it does not.
I think the things that stand out to me the most is that this film is, for better or worse, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but it is definitely a more intimate style film than I would say like Scream 6, which was much more open-ended. Obviously they had the New York City setting. They had the, we talked about like the whole bodega thing, but they had this...
Ghostface takes Manhattan!
And we talked about that too in Scream 6 episode, where it did not really feel like New York City was a character in the movie per se, where, you kind of think about some other movies that feature New York City and Manhattan. And a lot of times the city itself tends to become a character because it has this very particular feeling and atmosphere to it that you see all of the landmarks of the city life.
It's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
That's right. But I would say
Scream 6, by the way, we need to revisit Scream 6 just because what does that apartment's rent now cost 3 years later?
Yeah, that's right. You give a new estimate. But I would say that film, again, like it had a very much more open-ended feeling to it, but still the New York City setting did not really seem to like add much atmosphere to it, nor did the Halloween element to it, which was that another part of the whole thing, the whole idea of like, oh, it's going to be set around Halloween, In Scream 7, we have a much more intimate setting. It's supposed to be sort of a throwback to, which I always find really funny, the small town that Sidney's from, right? Because the whole idea behind this movie that was presented to us, at least in the taglines and the poster artwork and everything else, was that it was, going to be a return. Yeah.
Strike two for this fucking film. Yeah. Strike one with the 10-minute video essay before the film. Strike two is the whole marketing for this fucking film was return to Woodsboro.
Yeah. Fear hits home is the tagline, right?
They didn't hit. They didn't go to Woodsboro.
And I think, like the idea was like, this is kind of a, again, I do understand what they're doing. Like the beginning of the film is sort of that Drew Barrymore, hey, look, we've got Drew Barrymore, right? From the first film. We've got Drew Barrymore. Aren't you excited to see Drew Barrymore being one of the final girls in this movie? And then, they hit you with that, wait a second, she dies in the first, 6 minutes of the movie. I think the same idea was the case with Scream 7 in that we do get a return to Woodsboro. They go to Stu's house and they've kind of created like this Airbnb style, serial killer museum, which we do see now, with like stuff like Lizzie Borden House, where they sell rooms for people to stay in and experience the Lizzie Borden, murders that happened there. And the same idea is in this, the opening sequence of this movie where they go to Stu Macher's house and, it's an Airbnb and that's where the initial kill comes in, and then they burn it up. And so that's the return to Woodsboro that they were hinting at. And it's sort of like, hey, gotcha. We're not going to be in Woodsboro. We're going to some place in, some Hallmark-esque community in Pine Grove. And apparently it's Indiana, though I didn't really notice that they said that in the movie,
which is funny though, because even though we found that out after looking at the Wikipedia for the story for this afterward, because it's not mentioned, they just say Pine Grove.
Not that I remember.
I was thinking when we first meet Tatum's friends and they're walking down the street, I'm like, wow, this is a incredibly like D-list Haddonfield.
Yes, so, and not only that, but I think you get that too because it's like is it like September? Because there's like leaves blowing around the road and all that sort of like it almost looked like they had set dressing for like doing a Hallmark Thanksgiving movie, and they were just like, all right, shoot Scream there too, because it really does feel like this quaint small town Hallmarky type community where the streets, the Broadway Main Street is lined with these little shops, and even Sidney owns a fucking cafe called the Little Latte Cafe. It's straight out of the Hallmark staple.
She likes dark meat. He likes white meat. How are they going to settle their differences this Thanksgiving?
And Ghostface comes in and says, white meat, dark meat, I don't care. I'll kill it all. Like the fucking Thanksgiving movie or whatever. Yeah, I mean, so I get the idea that the movie, they were intending to have like this nice, intimate small town setting. It is supposed to mimic Woodsboro in a way, although I would argue that a place like Woodsboro cannot be a small town community because of, like, we see the school, right? The school is fucking a compound. Yeah, I mean, so it's
they got Henry Winkler.
Community.
They got Henry Winkler to show up for that. So,
But I think in this case, like that's what they wanted. They wanted Sidney to have settled down somewhere because she has a family now. She has a husband who is played by Joel McHale, who I had to go and look because I couldn't remember because the film has been the series has been very wishy-washy with how it even displays Sidney as a whole. But he has not been featured. Like they never brought him up or brought him into like Scream 5 to just say, yep, this is her husband. She's got a husband and 3 kids, 2 of which in this movie they shuttled off to grandma's house because they didn't want to deal with younger children. I get the feeling like they didn't want to have them in the cast, and they did not want to deal with the prospect of having them in dangerous situations. So they like conveniently at the beginning of the movie are just like, look, the 2 monsters are at grandma's house, and get rid of them. Which that's sort of a blink and you miss it moment too, because they were mentioning later on in the movie, like, oh, Sidney has 3 children. I was like, she does? I completely forgot that he even showed that one scene at the beginning of the movie where it was like, the Munchkins are at grandma's house. So what do you think about this? What do you think about the fact that they're showing like Sidney kind of settled down? Because this is like, again, I think the same idea occurs in like, in this movie is sort of a reboot style remake of the original Screams, in that it's sort of trying to repeat the same characteristics of the first film and even the second film to kind of usher in a new wave of final girl elements and sort of draw a parallel to Sidney's own predicament with her daughter. Well, what do you think about that?
So it's a big problem for me. Reason being, look, we all know that the film had trouble with production. That's why it came out 3 years later instead of like a year or 2. I think the fact that, again, put it as this is probably where you're going to do the whole return with putting a pin in it, because I'm going to talk about it now. They planned for a trilogy. They planned for something bigger. Scream 5 was like the passing of the torch to Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera as, Billy Loomis's bastard child that is seeing visions of Billy. Woo! Yes. And all of them, they killed Dewey off, and, the film, the meta for the film and critique is, about the requel, because which was, pastiche at the time. It was popular. Yeah. Scream 6 is for the meta and nothing. It's just literally they just up the blood and gore and
the meta was you're in the sequel of a requel.
Yeah, and and the fact that they had like the whole oh, look at this, it's the Hall of Ghostface and stuff. It's a slight critique on fandom, but again, Scream 4 beat you all to the punch 14 years earlier and did a better job and all of that. But, whatever.
Yeah.
So Scream 7, you're expecting some continuation of that. But because Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega have, believe in human rights and said, free Palestine, they get fired. And now you got this mangled mess of like, we got to hit the eject button on the reboot. It's not Kevin Williamson's fault.
No.
I'm not going to blame him for his direction and screenplay. But the fact that the studio, in its arrogance, was already like planning out, there's, piles of money to make. It makes, again, like, so wait, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why do I care, about Sidney, her kid, and all this when they only bother to bring in the fucking, combat kids.
Yeah.
And just basically, because like, hey, you guys like Mindy and Chad from the 5 and 6? This is completely detached from it.
And I think that's really an interesting idea, right? Because I do think in some ways, especially when you're working with a franchise like Scream that is kind of like writing its own money at a certain point. I do think that there is value in looking ahead to say like, all right, we're creating a trilogy, or we're at least planning for the point where we know where we're going to be heading for the next films. And I think what's interesting is like Paramount was so against Barrera and Ortega speaking their own minds about Palestine that they were like ready to just burn up money.
Yeah.
Which
we know too, because the Ellisons own it.
Yeah,
so, like,
but it's like astounding. They were ready to just burn up money because they said those things and get rid of the entire way that they were progressing in Scream 6 because of that, and just effectively rewrite the film. And that's probably where a lot of the budget went, is the rewrites of the film and the entire, because probably they spent like $30 million getting prepared for
literally
to
get everyone back that we'll see in the film. It's not just Nev's check this time. Hey, we got Matthew Lillard. He probably just did it for the love of the game. But like getting Courtney Cox to come back and getting it's to me that's always going to be the biggest problem with this film is, why even have the Meeks kids in here if you're not
ignore them, which they
when
do.
You're gonna not only ignore them, but like basically this is ignoring 5 and 6. And hell, they even say that all the time. Like, yeah, you should have been in New York, Nev. You didn't miss anything in New York. Like, so you should just name the film Scream then, because like to reboot. And again, this is where like it's so ridiculous, because it's like when they did the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, and like Hulk, like they had to reboot it like 4 different times. Like it's like so DC, so Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. It's just like.
Right.
So it's just ridiculous.
And I want to be clear that and I think you've said this too, like it's not Kevin Williamson's fault. It's not the actor's fault that the film goes the way that it does in certain situations, or the criticism or lobbying against it. It's all on Paramount, right? Because Paramount was completely willing to just rewrite the whole thing for shits and giggles because they didn't like what Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega was saying. And that's just crazy to me. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't understand it, as a human being, and, but at the same time, like, I'm not necessarily blaming that on what the end result of what we get, because they made the best of a bad situation. And actually for me, I actually ended up enjoying Scream 7 more than I did with 5 and 6, or at least more than I remember enjoying 5 and 6. And again, like I said, I guess my memory of that is a little bit hazy, because I did end up giving Scream 6 the same rating that I gave Scream 7. Again, my ratings are pretty arbitrary at any given time. They can really change, and it's just a number. But at the end of the day, I felt when I was watching the movie, like I did appreciate Scream 7 more than I did the 5 and 6 movies. And I am an outlier in that. I realize that, because from what I've seen from reviews and other people talking about the movie, they really did not enjoy Scream 7. There's probably some baggage to that. There's the obvious baggage that they just got rid of Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera, and those were a huge draw to the films. There's the other, the other element of like, again, it's not the extension of the storyline that you were expecting. And I totally understand your point that it seems like Scream 7 basically says, let's restart again. 5 and 6 don't matter. And I think that's problematic in 2 ways, right? So 5 and 6 end up not mattering, And then when you look back on it, it really makes you think like, well, why did we spend the time, wasting our time getting used to these characters and actually meeting these characters and, acting like we were going to, jumpstart what's going to happen with those characters when we really aren't. And then on the other hand, for Scream 7, it really makes it seem like, why did we bother caring about where Sidney is now? Because we have not been, in the 5 and 6, we really haven't been privy to anything that Sidney's been doing. The only thing they did in 5 was basically have her come back and say, like, listen, I've been retired, basically, but I'm going to help you. And then now we're supposed to care about her entire family in Scream 7 in a way that the film just cannot do in 2 hours, right? We do not really know Tatum, even at the end of the day, after quite a bit of characterization of the film, which, after the first kill sequence, which I think is pretty inventive in this movie, after that first kill sequence, it takes about like 30 minutes, I think, for the actual, Ghostface killings to really make a return.
Tatum is such a wet noodle, too.
Exactly. Yep. That's another problem.
Isabella May's character is just so... I'm not like you, Mom. Like, you're fierce, and I just want to know about you. And it's like,
there's a very
like if she's being set up for now the future plan, like this is great,
Yes, yeah. She's very whiny. She has a very sort of angstiness to it that does not really make her endearing. I understand that what Williamson was going for in this scenario, he wanted to make her seem like, the sort of shy and, reserved Sidney of the original Scream. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't work that well in Scream 7 because they're trying to shoehorn in us meeting Tatum for the first time. Never met her before. Don't know her. Barely even knew that Sidney had a daughter of her age. So we're meeting her for the first time. And then the film is asking, please understand Tatum and see the parallel from her to Sidney and see the growth at the end of the movie. And that's a problem because we just don't know that much about her. And we don't get enough time to spend with her to really make that worthwhile. So I will absolutely agree with that I think that, again, this is another thing that comes down to Paramount, though, and the decisions that they made. Scream 6 did not have Sidney, so there was no chance to build any about her family in Scream 6 because they just said, Nev, you're asking too much. You're a woman. We don't really care about women. Okay, so it doesn't matter that you've been in all the movies since here. We're not going to pay you the amount that you're asking. So that was their fault, and they did not have a chance to build a bridge to where they were going to eventually get to here, which they obviously, again, they didn't even know they were going to get to this place. But they didn't even try. There was no attempt because Sidney is not in Scream 6, and there's no attempt to even give her a family at that time. She just mentions it. And
sorry to interrupt, but what would be a good use of that 10-minute unnecessary?
Yeah, there you go.
You've already, paid for the movie, so why am I seeing grab ass between Nev and Courtney Cox? How about you have it's been a while since you've seen me. Yeah. Here's what's going on in my family.
There you go. Yeah.
I opened up a little coffee shop. With the money that, if you remember Scream 4, I wrote a book and it became a bestseller. So,
apparently she made a lot of money because she has a panic room in her house. Her house is, gorgeous, going through all kinds of construction. She made a bundle of money from the stuff that she's been doing on the side. Besides her little latte cafe.
But so that would be better. No, because you're right. Again, it's just hard for me to really the film is just so disjointed from the rest. And again, if the franchise wasn't going for a linear story, film to film,
right?
I could discard that. Whatever, drop it and move on. They clearly made it, something that they wanted to tell. So it just, for me, it just comes off like a wet fart. It's it's just, okay. Sidney's got kids. She's married. She's living a happy life. when Ghostface calls her, she doesn't give a shit because she's already been. It's 30 years of this shit. She's like, yeah, whatever, asshole, beep, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, and again, the fact that they're trying to make Tatum, you know, be the, you know, the next in line. It's all just, you know, a bunch of, you know.
And I think to your point, too, a big problem with the movie is that they want to have it both ways, right? Like, so they recognize the fact that, ooh, we kind of need to tie in a little bit to 5 and 6. So they bring the Meeks Martin children in, who are now not children. They're like, you know, college age. But they're bringing them in, and yet the film really does nothing with them. Like, it you know, it uses them as sort of this bridge to the meta, right? Because they are effectively the new voice of the meta that they're, you know, identifying within their own realm in the movie. But they don't do anything, and they just get stabbed in, like you said. It's basically just a reason to have Chad get stabbed in every single movie, right? Like, at this point, the man is a magnet to knives.
Yeah, yeah. Not only that though, like, and they just become more, as you were saying too, more and more ridiculous. This, you know, stabbings that these people are
going through. Yeah.
The meta now for Scream. What meta is there? There's no critique. Like, what are you critiquing in 2026?
Yes. And
like, are you critiquing Robert Eggers? Or you know, Ari Aster, like, there's nothing for you to critique. No one's doing like box office horror anymore. And not only that, like, even like with Scream 6 and Scream 5, the like meta that they were trying to, like, you know, talk about and connect to was incredibly tenuous at best, and like really not like anything groundbreaking. Like one again, like, sorry to say it, but like one of the reasons why I think like Scream 4 is like just as great as Scream is because 15 years out now, like, holy shit, I want to be the star, the attention economy, the whole, you know, live streaming your life 24/7. Like, it's a lot, like, so far ahead of its time. It's like, you just, Kevin and Wes, you're brilliant bastards on that, and it's beautiful and wonderful. But again, like, what are you critiquing here? There's no like critique of the franchise itself, because again, the opening with like the whole the Stu's you know, like the museum, like you did that in the last film.
Sure.
And basically at this point, when you guys do that, it's like, it's just a signal to like, well, we're protecting the franchise and the brand, and that doesn't mean anything. That would be like if every Saw film from now on, they had to shoehorn in, here's fucking Jigsaw's like, you know, turd that he shat out like when he was having a gallstone attack or whatever the hell, like, you know. So like that part of bringing them in, and again, it's not they just brought them in because of the meta, but also they're the most liked of the new, you know, the new kids. But again, you didn't do anything with them. They got nothing to say. They get stabbed because they're just like, oh, it's this person, it's that person, and they're at a bar for 20 minutes and they get stabbed and we're on our way, you know.
Yeah, and I think too, I think that one of the problems that I think we'll continue to see is that the idea of having Scream make these meta commentaries at this point is that Scream is embroiled in the meta. Yeah. It was a reason that the meta existed now. And so it's hard to be within that meta element in the universe that you are creating it and then comment on it as well. It doesn't work very well. You've effectively negated the idea of it because now you are the reason it exists. And so it's going to become very difficult to keep revitalizing the idea of it commenting on something because it is commenting on a comment of a comment that it already made. It's going to be very difficult. There's going to be diminishing returns. And I think obviously we're at number 7, right? There's going to be diminishing returns. We see the diminishing returns. It's hard to keep making these movies surprising. And I think
not only that though, it's hard to have a medical contextual analysis.
Yeah.
When again, this is a vestige of a piece of horror cinematography that is now incredibly lost in the sands of time. Again, while there are films that come out like this, the big part of the films that come out that are horror are nowadays are these like artisanal pieces.
Sure.
So again, what I know they in like is either 5 or 6. They quote about like the Babadook, and it's like, what are you gonna say? Like, you have nothing that you could ever say about the Babadook. You're a fucking
slasher.
Right. So
I definitely agree. I think that we're running into this diminishing return. I think it's going to continue, right? And I think that the ending of this movie too sort of cements that, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we talked about how Scream 6 has sort of like a somewhat disappointing finale. Scream 7 also has a very disappointing finale in that it's not that you can't really see it coming, because that's a concern that we bring up quite a bit, is that the people that end up being the killers are not present within the movie enough where you would actually even suspect them. That's not technically the case with Scream 7. I think more so the case is that at the end of the day, you just don't really care that much about the killer's motive here. The killer's motive is so tangential. It's so inconsequential to the characters that it's involving that you could not guess it, because it doesn't even have a connection to them really that you would know about.
The only way, and this is why and I said when we watched it, I wasn't really thinking of like red herrings and who done it. The only ones I was really thinking of like who might have done it was Anna Camp's, like Jessica Bowden.
Sure.
Just because her son, who was clearly lined up to be, the killer, is because he's so obsessed with, the sad films and like the crime and all that. And she's like, oh, just so zany. But again, the reasoning with her, and you didn't even say it, Ethan Embry,
right?
Like, why they're like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
No, I'm a survivor. I read your book. I killed my husband. I learned to push on, and I'm going to become another survivor. Like, wasn't that fine? Wasn't that like, what do you, like, there's just like,
yeah.
There's just such a disconnect on, why, like, you give Scream 3 all this shit that you want. At least Roman has like a good reason for like why he's the why he's Ghostface, or why, Emma Roberts ends up being like, fantastic. I'm chasing fame. I want to be, it's something. This is just like, like I read your book and I became obsessed with it. Come on,
and I will say that they did a pretty good job. Like, again, I don't really look at publicity or anything for movies that I'm going to go see, because I feel like it really does take away. And I do see that there was publicity for Ethan Embry of Dutch, I should say. Ethan Embry of Dutch. You can listen to our episode on it. Martin didn't like it, but Ethan Embry of Dutch being in this movie. And I will say, when I was watching this movie, I did not recognize Ethan Embry in this movie.
No. In fact, when the credits rolled and you're like, holy shit. It
was a good thing there was no one else in the audience at the time. But I will say, so they did a good job of making him not super recognizable, but the film does draw a significant amount of attention to him when they're interviewing him as the orderly, because he has this sort of like this charisma that he's bringing to this character that it actually is a downfall of the movie, because yes, it's charisma. No, like a regular extra probably wouldn't have, had that. So I do think that does kind of take attention away from the fact that like you would be suspecting that guy.
He's almost like a sassy Southern gentleman. Like, no,
I don't. Yeah. But I do think at the end of the day, the motives for both of the killers, and actually, I mean, let's face it, we keep exponentially increasing amount of killers, which I kind of like in this movie that they had a killer that was already revealed by like the halfway point. But
hold on, the dumbest thing though.
Yeah.
Though it's so cartoony and like just piss on you. Like Courtney Cox shows up and mows that motherfucker down,
right?
And she's like with her Jeep, and the Meeks kids come out because they're her cameraman and fluffer. It's like she's like, got another one, bitch, and it's like
that is also
it's like wow, it's Courtney Cox, but also too like, wow, how fucking serendipitous that is. Like,
that has also become a really big problem with the Scream franchise as a whole, is that you have Courtney Cox coming in effectively like the cavalry, right? And that this has been a thing from 5, 6, and now 7. And that, a pretty tangential character to the Scream franchise who has kind of been written in to be, have some more play in the universe, is now becoming like this cavalry character that you bring in to save the day. And I guess in this case, while I like the fact that they keep bringing up that she really wanted to interview Sidney and it never happened, and that sort of happens in this movie, I think that Gale as a whole, as a character, is really wasted, and they really only wanted her there to get those, one piece shots of her saying like, fucking damn it, or whatever she does there, and it's really over the top and cheesy, and I don't like how they use her character at all here.
See, also too, granted, they weren't gonna do it because again, they're resetting and going back to Nev and all of that. You would have had just that's something the Meeks do. They're the ones to run them down because they become the new, Gale Weathers. They're the ones that are chasing that report. And the film constantly shows too, how beaten the shit and battered and awful, Gale's life is. So she's like taking painkillers, she's shaking,
Yeah, she has her hands all, messed up.
But they're gonna still find a way, 2 films later to, shove poor Courtney Cox, 80 years old, into it. Like, I'm still on the beat, bitch.
I think too, the whole idea about Gale showing up like this, I really think one of the only ways that you can really surprise people within the next Scream movie is to have Gale be the one that is targeting Sidney.
I was gonna say to die because she's been teased around constantly.
Oh yeah, that too. But I think again, we have to have somebody who's close to Sidney in a way that we've not just met either, right? Because it can't be Joel McHale. Yeah. It can't be Joel McHale who's like, all of a sudden, I want to kill my wife, It's got to be Gale. It's got to be Gale. And, this film kind of puts a wrench in that because it keeps saying Sidney doesn't trust Gale. Sidney doesn't trust Gale. She's not really a real friend. And at the end of the film, they kind of make amends and they say, you know what? I really do trust you, Gale. Thank you for being
not only that, though, too, they fucking Nev throws everybody under the bus. And they're like, why'd you name me after Tatum if she died in a garage? And she's like, he's the only friend that I had that I ever trusted. Yeah. And it's like, fuck you, Dewey.
Yeah, right.
Fuck you, Randy. I know what they're going for, girlfriend and stuff, but still, it's very contrived.
It is.
And not only is it, very contrived, but it's just silly. Mm-hmm. Again, it's just such a there's just such missed opportunities here. Right? Again, the whole the biggest contrivance of this film is is Stu Macher still alive? And you got him zooming in and hey Sid, good to beat fucking kill you, and it's
yeah the whole use of deep fake.
But not only that, though, it's okay, so if he was alive, which he's not, thank God, but if Schumacher was still alive. How? Why? Why did it take 35 fucking years?
Can you just imagine though? The whole underlying idea is so silly that I guess presumably it could happen if he was like a very important Epstein, right?
He got just some John Doe after getting his head smashed in by a television. Broke out of, the coroner's office, and he ended up in fucking all the way from Woodsboro in California all the way out in Pine Grove in Indiana.
Yeah.
It's just so beyond. Well,
it's very dumb.
But not only that, so these kids who have never, met or whatever, how would you program an AI Matthew Lillard, aged and beaten to hell? That's it's just so stupid.
Yeah. I won't lie. I loved seeing Matthew Lillard back because he looks like he's just having a lot of goddamn fun.
No,
he probably
that's what
literally just filmed stuff on his phone and sent it in. So I love.
That's why it sucks. Because again, we're Matthew Lillard fans here. We love Matthew Lillard. But again, it's just so contrived and so. Please, we know this is gonna, be a sloppy mess of a fucking movie. Please, come on,
I love seeing Laurie Metcalf too. I love her. I love seeing her in. Come back for a little bit. But I do, like you said, I think that it's sloppy. I don't think that it really makes a whole lot of sense when you really stop and think about it. I don't think that it makes sense that no one would even recognize that Anna Camp's character was not in that mental facility. Because research into who lives in the area and that there's a connection to that mental facility is going to reveal that she was fucking there.
Someone's called it a sanatorium.
Yeah. These are caveats, and obviously the film, we have to take some, steps back from reality. But at the same time, I don't really think that it makes a whole lot of sense when you really stop and think about it. And the film does a lot of this kind of thing too. Neve Campbell's Sidney has been through this 30 years or more, and yet she still makes stupid decisions like tell Tatum to leave the panic room even though the killer is outside in the hallway. These are dumb decisions that she's making that don't really make sense for a seasoned veteran. Again, if she truly is the seasoned veteran that we keep referring to in the movies, then you would not expect her to make any of these dumb decisions. They're all very dumb.
Yeah.
And they don't make sense. And I do think that is a really big problem with Scream 7 is that the decisions that are made across the board are just everybody is stupid in this movie.
Why is the garage at the Prescott household
under construction?
Looking like it's in the Texas Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's not really representative.
Elaborated,
hey, we're under construction.
Not only that, though, too. Yeah, as you said, the fucking poor old, Joel McHale gets stabbed 39 times. Yeah. Still wheeled out, raising a thumb up.
Well, not only did he get stabbed 39 times, he's been laying there for 15 hours. And at the end of the day, no strong, hardy man who's a police officer, because I know we're doing this propaganda piece and stuff. Nobody is surviving bleeding out for 15 hours. It's just overwhelming.
Would have gotten an infection by then, been dead. Not only that, though, too, though, the whole we're gonna go back to the beginning and do the Drew Barrymore kill. It's again it just comes off as so contrived. You're pandering way too much because it's a film that knows it's gonna be worse than it should be because of its circumstances, and it's just not I didn't have fun watching this. I didn't I wasn't having fun.
See,
and
that's where I disagree. For me, I did. I feel like I enjoyed it more than 6. I had some fun with it. I thought that it, besides all of the things that I've just pointed out that I think are really bad about the movie and really stupid, I did still have some fun with it. And I don't know if that's like the Williamsonisms that are in this movie peppered in.
There's a lot.
What's that?
There's a lot.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like sort of those things, or the fact, again, that we're still seeing things like, schools that have like this ridiculous like theater production and that are like, what? Where are these places that have this setup? I don't know, but I did find myself, still enjoying it for what it was. I do realize that it's not a very good movie. It's certainly not, hitting the levels of Wes Craven's best works. But at the end of the day, I did have fun to a certain extent. The film has a lot of gore to it. It's way over the top. A lot of times it doesn't even make sense. Like when
way too much. It's CGI too.
Yeah,
it's but not great.
Like when they stuff the Lucas on the bar tap, and that doesn't even make sense that beer would come out because they put him on the top of the bar tap, which would be the the thing that gets screwed into the tap instead of where the beer spout comes out. Stuff like that doesn't make sense, but it looks visually kind of cool and gorific. And obviously this film keeps trying to up the ante for how much brutality it can really do. Like Ghostface just keeps getting more and more aggressive and over the top. And apparently too, all these Ghostfaces now have taken all kinds of every single type of kung fu, karate, mastery that they can, because they're fighting like Joel McHale, who's 6'4" and 240 pounds and beating his ass off.
That's the other thing too about these films that sucks, is the fact that Ghostface is becoming more and more like a Superman.
Yeah.
They're the first, three Screams, there was, Ghostface was grounded, made mistakes, got hit, had blood,
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's now oh yeah, no, he's like Jason or like Michael. They're just gonna keep coming and and it's just,
The other thing I really dislike, this film does it too, and I actually even mentioned this before we went to see it, is the fact that it does the whole killer got shot, but they're getting up 16 different times from being potentially dead, which again was really elongated in Scream 6. If you remember, I think we talked about the fact that the conclusion in the whole sequence at the end of Scream 6 was way too long, and Scream 7 has that too. It almost copies it word for word, where they're shoot him in the head, and then they don't shoot him in the head, and then Ghostface is up and gone, and it's Ghostface just got stabbed through 4 times, and I don't think he's jumping off the ground like Buffy and running away. But this film does it too, and it's really getting tiring. I will say that. I think that the film is too long because of this. The conclusions always make it almost like you took an okay thing and you made it, really too far. Took it too far and extended it. The film is too long. It does spend a little bit too much time in Sidney's life, even though I will say it doesn't do enough to create Tatum. It spends too long in the family dynamic, and that's a problem with the fact that they just didn't have a lead into Scream 7. But it does take too long for that, so there's really no reason for this film to be 2 hours. I think a nice abbreviated hour and 40 minutes would have sufficed. It's too long. And then also, I think the fact that this movie feels very strange in that it has no extras whatsoever, except in that one coffee scene in the little latte. Other than that, it's devoid of extras. It feels like it takes place on this abandoned set, especially during the curfew sequence within the town, where you see nobody. And even the police are well, it's curfew, we're not going out, right? Because they don't respond to anything that's happening in the town. There's a bar gets this window smashed in, and there's Ghostface running all over the place, women screaming in the streets, and the police are well, I don't know, it's curfew. probably should stay inside. But I think the overall problem is that it just feels unpopulated. It feels like it takes place on some,
Back lot.
right, on a back lot. And I think that hurts the film too, because it really doesn't feel like a small town. It feels like nothing. It feels like, just some random location. And the film only has a few locations. So to not have extras, like even in the school, if you think about Scream, the Scream original had, like we said, it had a gigantic school and there was lots of extras peppered throughout. You would see the school looked large and massive because there was crowds of students. In this film, they go to the school and it's only like the 5 friends that she has in the theater play. And it's like, does anybody else go to this school? Or is there only like 4 people that attend classes here? It feels like, again, and I was really surprised to see that the budget was like $45 million because it feels so cheaply made in that regard, that it doesn't have extras. It doesn't have, any of this additional stuff that you would expect to make it feel lived in. I don't know. Again, that's not really a complaint about if the movie is good or bad. It just makes it feel kind of cheap, I think.
I'd agree. It definitely doesn't. It's the same thing with like Scream 6 too. Like for a city like New York, they didn't make it feel alive and
right. Yeah.
With a bunch of people, and it's the same thing here too. Even in Pine Grove, you'd expect as like a business is like alarms are going off and there's help. Somebody would run out and be like, "What the fuck's going on out there?" But no,
no one's around. They all took the curfew, very
like
seriously.
It's a death sentence if you were to, traipse on out.
I think you had a complaint too about the soundtrack, right? I remember you saying that when we were watching.
It's like just it's not bad, but it's overly present and constantly like a scene when they're sitting there just putting sugar in their tea, like
so it's always brooding in the background.
Yeah.
And I think
except until you get the red hand,
right, you get the Nick Cave song.
Yeah.
I also think, like, I agree with you. It's always present, right? And I also think that it's very disjointed in the way that it's used. I think it's trying to go for like this original Scream, but I don't think it really gets there. I think it's very I don't know. It does not have a very specific feel to it. And I think at the end of the day, like, we kind of laughed at the end where it pulls out that sort of Enya-esque, and I mean, it works for Scream because it's a 90s movie, but I don't know that it works in 2026 as much anymore. Also, we didn't talk about the fact that, David Arquette makes an appearance as Dewey, and they do pull out the whole, the Dewey theme that they've had running throughout the whole
for the
franchise.
3 seconds that he's on the fucking screen. And, he gets one of the biggest, like credits at the end of the film.
Yeah. I love the fact that it really seems like David Arquette just filmed that somewhere. Like, it wasn't on set. He was just at home.
Could have been a leftover from COVID. I know Scream 5 came out after COVID, but like the way it's shot, like on a green screen of him, like, which, by the way, fantastic mustache.
Yeah,
he's looking good. But yeah, I mean, like, again, like, I don't know about you, but for me to have all of that in there. Not just him, but like with, Scott Foley and, Laurie Metcalf. It just seemed too much.
Right.
Because you've already gone too much with the Schumacher thing. So I know
really
what the story's doing, because by that point, it's AI generated and stuff. But like, it doesn't have any bearing. It didn't make me go, oh, so-and-so showed up. Like, it just comes across as like, Jeb Bush, like, please clap.
Yeah. Yeah, a little pandering.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I agree. All right, what else? What else did we talk about? We're already running long here. I think we pretty much documented exactly the reasons why the film can be considered not a great Scream movie in the franchise. It has a lot of problems. It really does. And not all of them are due to the fact that Kevin Williamson is directing, or, I think he does a pretty good job directing. I don't really see
he does.
Yeah.
He does. He's got a good eye, and everything looks like, again, it's the same thing with like the performances. Like, nobody's like a bad performance here. Nobody, like, the Kevin Williamson's direction isn't bad. Like, again, the script, I think, is like, it is a weakness. I understand it from, Paramount, meddling, but at the same time, like, it is what this film is as creation. And
I'm really disappointed that they did not bring up that Sam Reckner, the guy who plays Tatum's boyfriend, looks a lot like Liev Schreiber when he was younger. Like,
they went really hard into that. Because, again, like, who looks like that in 2026?
Right.
Which kid is walking out like, let's go?
He looks really similar to Liev Schreiber from, Scream 3. And they should have leaned into that because, like, I mean, it's really uncanny. I was, like, sitting there thinking, like, God damn. Is that Liev Schreiber's kid? Because he looks really fucking similar. He has like this combination of Liev Schreiber and Joshua Jackson that I think, again, like you said, not really a common look. Like, they gave him a specific haircut and everything. It doesn't even look like he generally has that type of haircut. So like they really leaned into that. And the same is true. Like, I was also remarking that Isabel May looks a lot like E.G. Daily. In a lot of ways, she looks very similar. She even has like a very like a similar voice to E.G. Daily. So really strange, but I mean, those are just things that I recognized when I was watching the movie. But
everyone knows that one of the reasons why Liev Schreiber is one of the best is because he's also part of the kill where Sir Patrick, and I say this with all honor, Sir Patrick Warburton also was killed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
In Scream 3. Yeah.
All right. Let's give Scream 7 a rating. So on a scale of 0 to 10, police not responding. These are not the Saw,
No.
Federal agents.
Danny Glover and Donnie Wahlberg are on the scene.
I do like that it seems like the police don't even know what to do if Joel McHale's character is not there to tell them exactly what to do. Like, they had to look up on their phone, like, who is this guy? Like at the end of the movie, they're like, yeah, I just looked up on my phone. Yeah, it looks like this was a guy. And he's
like,
wanted
at
for
least in Scream 4, like, Anthony Anderson and co., like, they're on patrol. They're, like, doing the watch, and they can gut it. Here, it's like, yeah, no, we know they're looking for you. We left your house totally.
Yeah, I like how they...
Don't worry. Nobody's watching
Joel
your
McHale
house.
goes in. He looks in the front door and, like, looks in 2 rooms. Like,
Yeah.
clear. Totally clear. No one's here. Like, you can fucking... You got like 16 rooms in this fucking mansion. You better go check them all. Yeah. And it's hilarious. But, all right. So out of 0 to 10, what would you give Scream 7?
I'd give it a 4 out of 10. I just did not enjoy this film. I think it's easily the weakest film of the bunch. And again, I will have to watch 5 and 6 again to see how it compares. But just on gut feeling in the moment, I think the fact that Paramount blundered into this is 90% of why I didn't enjoy the film. You spent all that money setting up this, trilogy and new, story and new characters, and you blew it all away because you're a Zionist sack of shit. And you go to Plan D and expect Kevin Williamson to turn something out. It's not. His direction's good. I think story-wise, definitely he does need work. Because again, there's just so much inconsistencies and it's so jilted. But I do think his direction is really good. I think he does have a good eye for what's going on, and it kind of is a little weird to think about. Like, man, he's only done 2 films, and this is his second film. Because I do think he does a good job. I think all the performances, too, for the most part, are still also very good. Again, the film is hampered by studio ineptness. And for me, again, that's, as you have heard, like, that's my biggest crawl in pain of this film is it's just so disjointed from the rest of the franchise. It's such a, what are we doing here type moment. Again, it makes you go, what are we going to do in the next one? Who the hell knows? So for me, I couldn't get into it. I thought the gore looked bad. I thought just because, like, again, it was a lot of CGI. The kills can be creative, but again, a lot of really not so great CGI to show the blood and pain and gore. But I'm curious to see where they go next. But again, like, maybe with a Scream 8, if Kevin Williamson's behind it again and directs, I can expect something more. But again, this film's not for me. So 4 out of 10, I didn't care for it, and I don't think it's going to be long remembered in the franchise because of its disjointedness from everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I did enjoy it for what it was. I did have a fun time watching it. Maybe upon revisits, that's not going to stand. But at least from what I remember, I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10 because even for all its faults that I gave it, I did still have a nice time. Maybe it's just the loving embrace and bosominess of Sidney, Neve Campbell here with her little cashmere sweaters and her little latte shop and the coziness of it all. But
the baggy pants.
Yeah. I do also love, we didn't mention this, but I love the fact that Neve can just run across town to make it to wherever she is. Like, she's fucking at a news station somewhere and just runs across town, booking it to make it to the little latte shop and bar and stuff like that. It's great. It's great. So it's, again, it comes from a place where people don't really understand, like, when they say small towns, and like you think of a small town and you're like, oh wow, it must be like 3 streets. Like a small town is still large. It can be large and rural. It can be, so it's funny. I love when people do that where it's like, I'm just gonna run. At least in this case, though, she does say, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. So that's nice. But for all its faults, I've pointed out a lot of faults. I think we've joked about a lot of faults in this movie. I still really, kind of enjoyed it. It's definitely not the best in the Scream franchise. I do think that I just kind of also appreciated the fact that it tried to hone in on the items that did work about Scream, and didn't try to drive up this convoluted storyline about Billy Loomis's child that we never knew about, and the Halloweenification of the Scream 5 and 6 that they did. So I kind of appreciate that. I appreciate getting back to basics. Time will tell, like with Scream 8, whether the fact that we've now honed in on this a little bit more is going to be effective in telling more of a story about this, because I do think there is a huge diminishing return that we're already seeing with the Scream franchise as a whole. And then also, I mean, there's obviously a diminishing return with Sidney. You cannot rely on Sidney as a character constantly, because it just gets outlandish to the point where, we see that here. The killers really don't even have a tangential connection to her. It's really sort of stretching at, thin air to try to make a connection to them. So I don't think you can rely on Sidney. I think that's where the film is kind of going, is like, hey, maybe we'll get Tatum in there, here and there. It doesn't effectively set her up, though. There was no setup previously to try to get her in as a character, so it really feels shoehorned in. I don't know. Time will tell. I think we're having diminishing returns of Scream as a franchise. It's getting very difficult to tell the story and try to continue to revamp what's already been said, especially considering the fact that Scream now effectively is the meta. And so you're commenting on a comment of a comment, as I said before. It's going to be very hard to do that. And I don't envy writers who try to do that. I think Kevin Williamson is probably put in a pretty difficult position to try to do that. You know, as Paramount said, fuck all of that we did with the script before. Kevin, write something else, please. I think that's really difficult. So, you know, I'm not necessarily blaming him. I think time will tell where it goes from here. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6.5. That's probably a rose-colored glasses type rating, but you know, I enjoyed it for what it was, even though we pointed out a lot of really bad things about the movie. It kind of seems counterintuitive to what I've said previously, but so yeah, great discussion. That was awesome. That was excellent. I'm sure, like we saw it a couple days ago, so we've been stewing on it, and I'm sure. Yeah, you know what? Also, too, as I say, stewing, I really got annoyed with the fact that they kept saying Stumacher like it was like one word.
Stumacher.
It was like,
yes.
You know, that
Stumacher's life. Yes,
yeah,
Stumacher.
It sounded like one word, and then like the first time I heard it, I was like, who the fuck is Stumacher? But then I like understood after, you know, it came to, but I did not like how they kept rolling that together. It was kind of annoying. But anyway. So yeah, actually, I think we are coming up on Friday the 13th again, and we cannot miss this opportunity again. We've already missed it once. We missed it in February. I don't think we can miss it again. So I think our next episode is going to be whatever the next movie in the Friday the 13th franchise is that we haven't done yet. I don't remember. Historically, I don't know what we did. 6, 7, I can't remember. But
hold on.
Whatever it is, that's the one we're doing. We're doing the next Friday the 13th that we haven't done yet. Go listen to J Movie Talk podcast where we do the first 3. We're going to plug that here, and we'll plug it again on the next episode. But that's
our one and only 3-in-1 film.
That's right. Yeah. But that's the goal, is to do a Friday the 13th episode for the next time.
Last one so Fridays. Yeah, we're doing 6.
6.
I do remember seeing this. We did it 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, we did.
I did.
Part 5 3 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. Because isn't that the one with not Jason?
That's right.
Has the not Jason guy.
Yeah,
and blue mask.
Roy. Yeah. And so that, I mean, so that's fine. I think that's cool. It'll give me a reason to finally like tuck into that Scream Factory Friday the 13th box set that I bought all those years ago. That was like $140, and I haven't even watched any of the movies yet. So it's been sitting on my shelf. So
so between we have done a bad job, because we did the J Movie Talks episode where we did the first 3. Then we did in 2019 the final chapter, part 4. So we didn't do part 5 until 6 years, 5 years after. So we're like,
it's taken us a while to get through the series.
It's okay. We did by 2035.
We'll have done them all.
We will have done Jason in Space.
That's right. And by that time, there'll probably be another one. Jason in the Hood.
Well, he already did that. It was called Jason Takes Manhattan.
That's true. All right. Well,
Jason goes to Staten Island.
That's the next idea. Is we're doing Friday the 13th, part 6, which is Jason Lives. So that should be fun.
Which one is Jason Goes to Hell? 7, right?
Well, that's 9, buddy. It's 9.
Oh,
we got a little ways to go for that one. 7 is the New Blood, where she has telepathic properties. She can fight Jason with her mind and throw stuff at him with her mind.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, well, it's not very good, but
I know.
Jason Lives is actually pretty good. I think that's not. It's not not one of the worst series, I should say. So it's been a little bit since and again, they all kind of blend together over time because I haven't seen them in a while. But
if there's no Donald Pleasance yelling like and then I'm checked out.
It's true, but that's in none of them, none of the Fridays.
So that's why I don't care about them.
But I think, we'll have a good time. I think we'll have a good time. Yeah. So that's the plan. Actually do a Friday 13th episode for Friday 13th because we haven't been doing that recently. Good plan. So yeah, look for that next time. And if you like what you hear, if you like our coverage of Scream 7 or anything like that, or you know, if you even want to tell us about what you thought about Scream 7, listen up because I'll let you know how you can do that. We have our podcast on pretty much any, podcasting app that you listen to. We're on Apple Podcasts, our home base at Spotify, whatever you use, I'm sure we're on it. So look for us on there, subscribe, leave us a nice review. That always helps us out. We have a Facebook and Blue Sky. You can like us on there, follow us, and comment, whatever you do. We have an email address at bloodandblackrunpodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can write to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. If you enjoyed Scream 7 or think we got it wrong, let us know. And you can also donate to us on our Patreon page. Anything you donate goes back towards beer, so we appreciate that in advance. Thanks for listening to our extended episode. We reached an hour and 30 minutes here on Scream 7. Hope you enjoyed.
Long while since we've done that.
That's right, yeah. And catch us next time for our Friday 13th episode, which will be out next week. And until then,
take care.